So Boise State was losing. Boise State was losing. The Broncos were down 14-0, and San Jose State's got the ball inside the 5, 3rd and goal from the 3. Oh, they didn't get it. 3rd and 3 inside the 5, whatever it was. Here comes a 4th and 3. If you were beating a top 15 team in the country at home, it's your first year as a head coach, and you had a chance to go up 3 possessions, would you take that? Because I would have taken that. San Jose State had other ideas, and they decided to throw it to an offensive lineman. Now, this foolish play call aside, it became apparent to me as the game progressed why San Jose State made that call. They didn't feel like field goals were going to beat Boise State. I still would have played the possession game, even knowing how the game played out, because I think the tone and the tenor and the momentum changed in that particular moment, and the Broncos were able to capitalize. This was not an easy game, but it was a sicko game for those of you that pay attention to point spreads. Boise State trailed 14-0, and they covered 13.5 on the road. That's what the Broncos offense can do. And yeah, Ashton Jeanty is great. I continue to be impressed with the passing game because it does a lot of good things for this Boise State offense because, frankly, in the first half, Ashton Jeanty was bottled up. Ashton Jeanty wasn't doing a whole heck of a lot, but then Boise State started throwing the football a little bit. Maddox Madsen hit Camper a couple times and the rest of the receiving core, and Dirk Cutter was dialing up, and then all of a sudden San Jose State has to sit off a little bit, and then the lane's open for Jeanty. And this is the most important aspect of this Broncos offense, is their ability to just have a good enough passing game to make you think about it, to make you worry about it, to know that it can hurt you, and to also know that if they're down by a couple of possessions, they can come back in a game. They can score points in a hurry. They don't only have to run it with Jeanty, and then once they get up late in the game, they're just going to force feed number 2, and he's going to run out the clock, and he's going to rip a couple of explosive runs. So the Broncos win the game, and they are still on track. If they win the rest of their games, they will be the team that gets into the playoff as the Group of 5 champion. I feel really confident in saying that. But not as confident as I did last week, because, look, I just have to point this out. Army is still unbeaten. Do you get that? Army is still an unbeaten football team. Pop quiz time. Who does Army play this week? Yes. Army plays, drumroll please, Notre Dame. Yes, the aforementioned on this show, national title hopeful Notre Dame. That's who Army plays this week. Now, Army has been ranked outside of the top 20. I imagine they'll stay there since they had a bye last week. They get to play Notre Dame off a bye. You make of that whatever you would like. But Army, if they were to pick up a win against a top 10 Notre Dame team, please tell me, what do you think that does to their ranking? How does the committee look at a Group of 5 team that has a 0 in the loss column while also having a victory over a top 10 team that, if they were in a power conference, would have the right to play for one of the 4 byes and is the best non-power 4 brand in the entire country? How would the committee view that? Boy, I think they'd view it pretty favorably. And so Boise State is ranked ahead of them. Remember the Broncos actually, after last week's rankings, despite winning, they got dropped. Broncos didn't lose a game, but they fell a spot. They fell a spot because there are a lot of SEC teams up there. And there are some Big 12 teams in the mix. And SMU is up there. And now Miami's in the fold in that 10 to 15 range. It's getting very crowded. I don't know what happens if Army beats Notre Dame. I don't even know if Army can beat Notre Dame. That's not why I'm bringing this up right now. The push to be the highest ranked Group of 5 conference champion is as competitive this year as I can remember it being in the past. And perhaps things will sort themselves out. In college football, you know what? That tends to happen. I have a saying, help is often, almost always given. Look at that. I screwed up my own saying. That's how good I am at this. Help is almost always given to those who hold their own. If you do what you can, or if you control what you can control, and you just beat the team that is in front of you, a lot of times you're going to get assistance from elsewhere in this wild, crazy, wonderful sport that we call college football. So if Army keeps winning, if they go undefeated and they have a win against Notre Dame, that's an if. I want to reiterate that. because that's going to be hard. Ask Navy how easy it is to beat Notre Dame as a service academy. They got blasted. If Army were to have a different fate, if Bryson Daly goes crazy and Notre Dame regresses back to their week 2 loss against NIU level of play, if that happens, can you say with 100% certainty that Army won't get the benefit of the doubt over Boise State? Because, yeah, the Broncos' lone loss will be on the road to number 1 Oregon by 3 points. And boy, that's as good of a loss as you can have in college football right now. But if Army can say, yeah, we played a top 10 team and won, and this wasn't a fluky BYU top 10 team, this was Notre Dame, and you can think whatever you want about that particular sentence. I'm just telling you how it will be viewed by many in the college football world. Do you think Boise State is still a lock at that point? You tell me. You tell me, but that's an interesting question. It's more than an interesting question. It's why Army Notre Dame is one of the biggest games of the college football weekend, especially if you are someone who partakes in the fandom of a Group of 5 football team currently pushing for a college football playoff spot. Boise State's in that discussion. UNLV dominated San Diego State. They're still in that discussion. And how about Tulane? How about Tulane? I thought Navy would hang around. Nope. They got blanked. John Sumrall is in his first season at Tulane, and I tell you what, he's doing a heck of a job. He is doing a heck of a job. Darian Mensah's playing good football. Defense pitches a shutout against that Navy offense. Spencer, it's just Navy. It's just the American. It's just this. I'm not disagreeing with you here. Last time I checked, Tulane is also in the American Conference, and I am not discussing whether the Group 5 champion can go and make a run in the college football playoff, because I don't particularly think that's likely. They can maybe win a game, but win 2 or 3, go to the national championship? No, I can't see that happening with any of these teams. But one of these schools is going to possess what a lot of schools in the SEC would like to have, but not everybody can get. And you're going to have a team like Miami or SMU perhaps that get left out of the playoff and look up and go, wait a minute, that team gets to go to the playoff? But if you listen to this show regularly, of course, that's not the case. You know very well, like, yeah, this is the system that we've come up with. We go with auto bids. And I am not opposed to teams in the Group of 5 having access to the playoff. I am opposed to auto bids across the board. I'm opposed to auto bids for the SEC champion. I'm opposed to auto bids for the Group 5 champion. I'm opposed to auto bids no matter what. I don't think they should exist in college football because not every conference is created equal. But you know what? I don't make the rules. I just abide by them. And by abide, I mean discuss them in the context of how they affect the sport. So that's just where we're at. But Tulane is playing really good football. They've got to take on Memphis. That's a good football team. But if they win, it'll be another feather in their cap. Memphis isn't ranked, but Memphis pretty consistently has been getting top 25 votes all season long. I think the committee would look at that victory and say, oh, that's pretty darn good. That's pretty darn solid. If they go win the American Conference, 2 losses is going to hurt them. 1 to Oklahoma, who's not very good, and 1 to Kansas State, who is good but not great. Those 2 games, yep, it's haunting Tulane right now. But if Army loses, hard to see the Knights getting an opportunity if they have that loss to Notre Dame. It's possible, but they'd probably square off with Tulane in the American Conference Championship game, and then that's what it would all come down to, or maybe even the Army-Navy game after the regular season comes to a close. It's so spicy. It's not quite as good as the Big 12 because there's an as deep of a lineup of teams. South Alabama took care of Louisiana. I'd mentioned them before, the Raging Cajuns. Yeah, they won't be the highest ranked Group of 5 conference champ because of the Jaguars, the former head coaching role that was filled by current Alabama defense coordinator Kane Womack. But those 4 teams, Boise State, Tulane, Army, UNLV, they're all alive. They're all alive for the 12-team playoff that gives a spot to the Group 5 champion. You think of it what you like, but it's going to happen. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time, and until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.